Hey there, Internet friends. Trevor Starkey here, welcoming you to episode 6 of That Nerdy Site Show, a weekly podcast where the team members from That Nerdy Site get together to talk about our lives and all of the nerdy things we love about them. Joining me this week, we have Ben Bellevue.
Hello.
Hello, Ben. And Chloe Naylor.
Hi, 5 minutes ago I had glue on my hands.
Why? Yeah,
Why?
I guess real quick, let's dive into that. That was the when we were getting ready to set up, you were like, okay, yeah, I just gotta go take glue off my hands. So,
I
like,
glued
holiday crafting?
my fingers together accidentally. That was a little scary. I was fixing the carpet downstairs where the ferrets live,
With glue?
like super glue.
Okay.
Carpet.
I just wanted to put down because it's all frayed. I'm like, I just need it down instead of all frayed up, you know?
All right.
Okay.
Because the ferret's grabbing onto the carpet and ripping that. So I'm like, okay, that just needs to stay down.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
I guess that's a
so-
do-it-yourself solution.
I didn't know what else to do. I don't know where my dad's tools are or anything. Put the glue down. Oh, the ferrets come running up behind me. Like, no, you need to stay away. But the glue is not coming out of the thing anyway. So I'm like, oh, it's probably empty. And as I'm pushing the ferrets away, it's just pouring onto my hand, and my fingers are suddenly stuck together. I'm like, oh, okay, sick. Now I'm Googling with my other hand since this one is not working anymore. How to get crazy glue off of your fingers. And that
Wonderful.
was fun. Spent 30 minutes. I'm still picking, dried glue off of my hands. It's a great, wonderful time.
It takes me back to elementary school, I guess.
It wasn't
So,
as fun.
That's nice.
More painful than that.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, if you enjoy what you hear, like anecdotes like that, please remember that you can subscribe, rate, and review this podcast everywhere you can. We're on iTunes, we're on Spotify. Hopefully, we're everywhere else you would want to listen to us. If you're feeling extra generous, you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/thatnerdysite. And yeah, we don't have any new patrons to welcome to the community this week, but if you do, we will give you a nice little welcome shout out right here in the episode. So let's dive right into it. Chloe, what is new and nerdy with you, apart from glue on your hands?
Apart from glue in my hands, I just got back from a almost 2 week trip in London.
Yeah, how was that?
A time and a half.
This was was this your second time out there?
Yeah, I was there last September for RTX London, which I killed. That's not happening anymore.
Yep.
Like many things.
Like many
the
things.
Chloe curse.
The Chloe curse, PSX, add it to the list. This time, me and my friends decided to finally get together and use the Kind of Funny meetup as an excuse to finally see each other again. Since they all live over
Nice.
there, I'm the one American in the group. So we all
Yep.
went there. We had an Airbnb, the most cursed house I've ever seen, and stayed there.
Okay.
Listen, I don't know. As soon as you walk in, it's just oh, no, bad vibes. Failed the vibe check. It was
Okay. So I in an Airbnb store, I just saw on Twitter Greg actually responding to somebody who basically had tweeted that he got pulled out of his Airbnb at gunpoint by LA sheriffs this morning.
oh
my
my
God.
god.
And apparently the story was that the owners or whatever of that unit or house or whatever hadn't paid their rent, and they just collect the money from the Airbnb people. And apparently this is a big enough thing that they're used to it, and they know it is a thing that happens, and people are just working the system by not paying their rent on places and just waiting to be evicted, but still collecting the Airbnb money as it comes in. So
Jesus.
so yeah,
Wow.
somebody Greg knows apparently got got pulled out of their Airbnb this morning by the LA sheriffs.
Oh my
So,
god.
At least your experience wasn't that.
It wasn't that. No.
There was also a Airbnb party in Orinda up in the Bay Area, I think maybe a month ago, that it might have been a Halloween party, but it ended in a shooting. So, Airbnb has issues to deal with.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So what specifically about your Airbnb made it not pass the vibe test, Chloe?
It was just gross. There were cracks in the ceiling and everything, stains, The room I was supposed to be staying in, that wasn't even a picture on Airbnb. It was this tiny room. You could barely stand in the doorway because right behind the door was a loft bed that just, no. And like underneath that was like a pull-out couch, which you can't even pull it out because there's like a desk there right up against it. And like we tried moving the couch out, and underneath the couch were just a bunch of random noodles, just pasta noodles on the ground.
Huh.
Like, okay. So we just ended up taking the mattress from the loft bed, and I put it downstairs and slept with my friends there instead of in that cursed room. And that became known as the streaming room for whatever reason, and Tom Holland lived there.
Did you stream from it?
Nope.
Okay.
We just called it the streaming room.
I don't understand your friends.
Listen, we said all week we're gonna dinner plate ourselves. It just, nobody understands.
What does dinner plate mean?
Dinner plate?
Okay, I know what it means.
It
What
means
does it
killing
come
yourself.
from?
I don't
what
know
does it
where it
come
came from.
Is it from like Breaking Bad, where in season 1 they like somebody drops a dinner plate and cracks into pieces, and then like they threaten to use one as a shank?
Not even
Trevor's
that.
trying very hard to prescribe adult understanding to the youth of today.
There's no logic.
I respect
in
it. I
our
like
group.
it.
I've not until today heard the phrase dinner plating, so apparently I did not even know it was a phrase. I thought it was just a dumb thing that the Chicken Squad came up with.
Oh, it is.
So did us. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We came up with it. It just means killing yourself. I don't know where it even came from.
I did see dinner plates being referenced on TikTok recently, so I wasn't sure if that was you guys or
We
not.
started something. Wow. Who knows?
You started a lot of things.
Oh God.
None of them good.
That's still not true. Some of them are good.
Name one.
I can't. Okay.
You're
Anyways.
goddamn right.
All right.
All right, so back to London. Did you go and do any sightseeing, or were you just really hanging out with your friends the whole time?
Really, just kind of hanging out. Like, I definitely overpacked because we left the house maybe 3 times. One of them
Okay.
was, let's see, we got there. The day after was the meetup, and then the most we left the house was to go to the grocery store down the street. And on Thanksgiving, I made a Thanksgiving dinner for the European friends that don't celebrate Thanksgiving, but it was great.
It's cute.
I know. I cooked a lot.
Nice.
I'm like the mom friend, which is scary.
Ooh,
Oh.
that's
Yeah.
That's-
like
I found that out.
that is so weird.
Right?
I was talking to Anki. Me and Blessing were like in a group chat with Anki, Chloe's friend, for listeners, and she said that she was a teenager, and Blessing and I were like, "Wait, what?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm like 18 or 19. I forget the exact age. I'm assuming you know."
She's 18.
She's 18, and we're like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, Chloe's like the second oldest of our group," and I was like, "I assumed that she was the same age or younger than everyone in that group."
I'm the second oldest in that group.
You're the dad.
It's weird. It's very
Welcome to the
strange.
club.
Yay!
I was because when I met Ben, he was underage. When I met you, you were underage.
Yeah.
No, I'm just always.
You're always the
I'm
dad.
always I'm used to being the old guy
Mm.
around all the young kids as they like turn 21 and
Nice.
can start drinking and all that fun stuff.
I'm just used to
You
being
met
the
me
baby.
when I was 21.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Or I guess I met you when you were 21 because you couldn't come to Kind of Funny Live 1 as we talked about, I
Yeah.
think on the first episode of the show, because you
Mhm.
weren't old enough at that point. But like
That's the
we
only
knew
reason
each
I know.
other. We knew each other through the internet before you were 21. So I guess that's
No.
what I was referring.
I met
Dang.
you at Kind of Funny Live too, and I did not know who you were whatsoever. And then we spoke after Kind of Funny Live 2 on the internet, and that's when I
All
got
right.
to know you.
All right,
Fight me.
fine. Then your young mind is remembering things better than my old one is. That's not a surprise at all, but whatever.
I love you, Trevor.
Well, that's cool. It's like I had a similar experience when I went to San Francisco, where I pretty much stayed in my hotel room most of the time I was there, just playing games and stuff, and then going out and hanging out with like Joey Noel and Belinda a couple times while
Great
I was
people.
around. So yeah, I can appreciate going to another city and then just being like a super homebody and not actually going out and seeing sights or anything like that.
I did the same thing. I went to Big Bear for a weekend, and aside from going out to get breakfast one morning, I did not leave
Ginormous
that.
pancakes.
Yes, with humongous pancakes.
Those are like twice the size of Ava.
they didn't warn us, so Ava got them as like a side with her main meal, and then they brought that out, and we were like, oh my god, that fed her for 3 different meals.
Oh my god.
Wow, nice. Well, that's great. I especially appreciate having that fun experience with your friends. Obviously, that's what like pretty much every kind of funny event has been for me since like the first one, really, at this point. So, and yeah, like when we do stuff in San Francisco, we plan trips and all sorts of like sightsee or touristy kinds of things for the people who are coming in from out of town. But also, we just do a whole bunch of stuff where it's just like, hey, we're gonna go grab food somewhere,
Yeah, and,
and
sit and chill.
everybody has a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about that recently with all the like PlayStation 25 memories this last week. I was thinking about like some of my favorite memories from like PlayStation are PSX, and specifically like the PSX that we met you at, Chloe, hanging out in Anaheim in the hotel lobby and just chilling with friends, getting drunk.
It's a good time. And then I killed it. I'm so
time.
sorry. PSX is not a thing anymore.
Yep.
I miss it so
thanks.
much.
I do too.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. You think Kind of
Yeah, I
Funny
was
Lives a
hoping-
thing?
Anaheim-
Or did I kill that too?
I think it'll be back.
Oh, we'll see.
You damaged it.
Yeah, it's true.
It's like Anakin Skywalker. You've burned it in the lava. It needs to be reborn as Darth Vader now.
Okay.
Yeah. So I
I'm
guess
in a Star
segue
Wars
into you, Ben. You've been watching a lot of Star Wars recently.
I'm in such a Star Wars mood right now.
Nice.
I've been watching. I watched the prequels and Solo, and I'm trying to watch all of them before Rise of the Skywalker comes out. I found my old like those expensive lightsabers they would have that were like $100 and they were metal and like lit up and everything.
Mhm.
I had one of those from when I was a kid, and it's damaged, but I found it today and kind of like stripped it apart, put new batteries in, try to get the things working better. So that's super cool. So that functions now, which is awesome.
So basically, you don't want to spend a crap ton of money at Galaxy's Edge, is what you're saying.
Oh, I want to so bad.
I want to very badly, but I want to spend a crap ton of money at Galaxy's Edge getting my own personal lightsaber. So the Luke Skywalker lightsaber that I have, I'd prefer to, keep functioning.
That's fair.
Yeah. And then what else? I've been watching The Mandalorian. I've been playing some of Jedi Fallen Order, but I have not really had enough time to play it the way I want to. And that's most of it. I watched a couple episodes of Clone Wars and Rebels now that it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I watched all of Rebels since Disney Plus came out. I've enjoyed that. And then I started watching Clone Wars the other day. And like Clone Wars I'd already watched before, so at this point I'm just kind of like it's on in the background. But when a General Grievous episode pops up, I definitely think of Chloe.
Thank you.
When like in what the first episode of the show or something, they're like it's the Toydarians or whatever, and so I'm like, well, there's Greg. That's Greg and Watto. Yeah, Watto.
Small Watto.
Gotta love a nice Toydarian man.
Yeah.
So small.
Annie, you're so small.
No bigger than a pumpkin.
Oof, that's so weird. But yeah, that's so I've been watching quite a bit of Star Wars myself as well. So you were going through and you were like kind of live tweeting your thoughts, Ben,
A
right?
little. It wasn't
Yeah.
intentional. It was. I just was like, oh, I'm watching Phantom Menace. And then I had a lot of thoughts of Phantom Menace. And then I continued that with Attack of the Clones because I was happy when tweeting about Attack of the Clones because I got to be positive about it, which is always. There's the filmmaker, like critic side of me that's like, I want to criticize this piece of media and like point out my issues with it, but I also don't want to be a buzzkill. So I enjoyed that I watched Attack of the Clones and I was like, oh, this is actually, I enjoy this. I think it's a better movie than Phantom Menace. I don't think it's like an amazing movie by any means, but it's better than I remembered it. And then I tried that again with Revenge of the Sith and Solo, but I was being a lot more pessimistic with Revenge of the Sith, and I just don't like Solo. So when Solo came around, I was like, I'm not gonna bother tweeting about this. No one needs to hear me being like, I hate this movie.
Fair.
Yeah, I tuned in to Kind of Funny's Last Jedi in review. Was it yesterday? Maybe I think I was watching it, or I guess it was a couple days ago. And I was like, oh god, they went almost 3 hours on this, and I already like know that I vehemently disagree with like Nick's take on the thing. So I got about halfway through that before I was like, no, this is just too much of I don't want to hear this stuff. So I'm just gonna go and
Yeah.
enjoy The Last Jedi and not have to listen to like people crap on it when every time they're crapping on it I'm like this is why that is a thing or this is why that like this is why I like that choice or here's why like because yeah that's not I can't argue against somebody that effectively when I'm not podcasting with them in
Right.
person or any of that kind of thing so
I tried
um
watching like the first 10 minutes of that podcast, I think. And I appreciated that Nick was being a bit more understanding of Ryan Johnson's goals than I expected him to be, and then I find a lot of people are. But I also there was a point when I think it was either Tim or Nick said that the movie ends at the same point it started at, and I was like, no,
yeah
and I can't argue with you about why I disagree with that. So I'm just gonna leave, and
just
that was
gonna
the end of me trying to watch that.
just gonna tune right on out. But then you can also like think of that and be like, oh, there are people that probably listen to you guys talk about Inception like that or something like that. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's hard because I definitely go into a lot of the movies for our podcast where Chloe can speak to this, even with Inception yesterday, where I was like, I love Inception, but also here's my issues with it. And I'm always trying to balance that where I'm like, I don't want to just be shitting on the movie, especially because a lot of times I like the movies, but the things I think to say are the criticisms.
yeah. That's I mean that's human nature. I would put out there. Like we're always thinking about or always we're always more vocal about the things we don't like. I
Yeah.
remember when I worked in retail, one of the statistics that they kind of like threw out there at us was somebody if somebody has a bad customer service experience, they will complain to three people about it. And that same person has to have like nine positive experiences before they'll tell even one person. It's
Yeah.
just like we gravitate because like a bad story or a bad experience tell makes for a better story and it makes for a more engaging story to tell to friends to just vent and be cathartic about compared to like yeah no everything was good I had a great time dinner was great you know we see that all the time in Yelp stuff where like the only people like writing positive reviews on Yelp are like food critics or wannabe food critics or something like that whereas most people are just like I had you know, the slightest bit of breeze brushed across me, and now I'm going to ding this place for being incredibly cold, and it was just inappropriate. And it's like, all right, calm your tits, you know, back it off. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think we see that kind of all over the place, and it's one of the like, so I've in my older, more cynical age, I am trying to promote the good things more. It's certainly something but I am having to try and like make a concerted effort to be like, all right, but what did I like about this thing that I might have a whole bunch of like criticisms on?
Yeah. And it's also just, even with a piece of media that you really like, if it's not something that you go into knowing what you want to say about it, because like when I went into talking about Hot Fuzz, I feel like I knew a million things I wanted to say that I loved about it because it was my choice of movie. But with Inception, even though I like Inception, I went into it and I was like, okay, there's a lot of things I like about this movie, but there things that like there's so many things I like about this movie that it's easier to just kind of talk about the few little criticisms you have instead of being like, oh, this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing are cool. And it's like they are. It's just it's a hard balance to strike.
Yeah, I think there's also a I think with something like Inception in particular, or something like Last Jedi, like there are so many, or something like The Mandalorian right now that's going on. Like a lot of people, as we're recording this, didn't like the last episode of The Mandalorian where they kind of went to the village and stuff and called it like a filler episode. I'm like, you can't. I don't understand how you can like make that argument when you don't even have like a perspective of like the whole scope of the story that they're trying to tell. Like you can't know if this is filler or not until you know what the whole thing looks like. But because of like this, the nature of the beast of trying to feed in and create content off the stuff as we experience it, like you're throwing some kind of critiques and criticisms out there. I just think that's maybe the wrong way to approach it. Where you can not like a thing or decisions that were made, but like a lot of it, you're not gonna know until you have hindsight to say like, here's why this didn't work for me, or here's why this did work, or here's why I didn't like it, but it fit in the greater scheme of things that they were trying to tell. Anyway.
I'm also just a sucker for a good contained episode story. Like going back to Breaking Bad, which you referenced, a lot of people don't like the Fly episode because it has no real meaning outside of that singular episode. I love the Fly episode a lot. So
Yeah, no, I think I agree. I fall on the like Fly episode is good bandwagon, and I think because that's another one I like rewatched all of Breaking Bad when El Camino came out, and that was one episode where I was like, I remember watching it when it first came out and enjoying it, and then finding out that it was like a very polarizing episode to a lot of people, and so like going back and rewatching it with that like knowledge in the back of my head, I was like, okay, yeah, I guess I get where people are like coming from with that kind of criticism, but it doesn't ring true for me. Like here's why I like that episode. I like the focus on the two characters. I like that it is like a psychological, like the Fly is just like beating down Walt as a representation of all the other things that he's done over the last however many months or have taken place at that time, and he's having to wrestle with them in the form of something as dumb and piddly as a fly. And it gets like the better of him so many times throughout that show, in a show where you want Walt to get his comeuppance more, or at least I
right.
did.
Mm-hmm.
Like I appreciate that something as dumb and benign as a fly is like just wreaking havoc on him throughout that episode.
You've seen Breaking Bad now, right, Chloe?
Yeah, finally made it all the way through.
What'd you think?
I really liked it. I see why people like hype it up so much. It's really good.
Yeah.
I see why.
Yeah, I started watching Better Call Saul as well, as a result of like all the El Camino stuff, and that's one I'm enjoying that. It's a very like it's the same like methodical approach to storytelling that I liked about Breaking Bad, but with it's that thing of like, hey, it's a prequel, so the stakes are somewhat different because how some of these stories end up, and it's interesting to see some of the characters from Breaking Bad who we know how their story ends kind of existing in this world. And in particular, it made me just remember how great Giancarlo Esposito is as Gus Fring.
He's such a good
And
actor.
he's
So good.
I had forgotten that he's in Mandalorian, so now I'm just but somebody mentioned it this week, and I'm like, oh, I just can't wait for him to pop up in Mandalorian at this point.
I think if I remember correctly, we're also waiting for Ming-Na Wen to pop up, which I'm super pumped for.
Yeah.
Hell yes.
Woo woo. Cool. So I'll take a turn on some of the stuff that I've been doing. I've been playing a lot of Civilization 6 recently. I was playing a lot of it like as of last week's episode too. I just didn't get around to talking about it. And it is a game that like it came onto to consoles, or specifically PlayStation 4. So I picked it up there, and I've put like an ungodly amount of hours for the week and a half that I've had it in there. And I've played like through a few full length games, and that is just a game that very much epitomizes like the one more turn kind of aspect, to the point that I've been saying one more turn until like 4 or 5 in the morning a couple nights in the last couple weeks.
Nice.
Not great, but it's also like it's also feeding in the like, hey, well, I'm depressed because I don't have a job right now, so yeah, I'm gonna spend and play one more turn leading a civilization of people, and developing a super death robot for them instead of trying to go and look for a job or something like that. So it's not in the real adulting scheme of things the best solution for me, but it's I've been a fan of the Civilization series for a very, very long time, and so this is one I've wanted to play for a couple years, but just because I'm not a PC person, hadn't really delved into. But it came out on PlayStation, so I picked it up there, and I'm now annoyed a little bit because it's already dropped like $20 in price with
Aw,
Black Friday
man.
sales and stuff. I'm just like, but at the same time, I'll go ahead and say, yeah, I paid a premium of $20 to have spent the last couple weeks playing it and enjoying the hell out of that game. And I'm also playing Days Gone now.
How's that?
I picked it up. It's good. Like I'm enjoying it. I picked it up on a Black Friday sale. It's one of the games earlier in the year that I just like. The reception was lukewarm enough on it, so I didn't dive into it when it came out. But I was like, it's it felt to me at the time like that's a game I'll get when it's $20. So I did, and I'm playing it, and I really like Sam Witwer's performance in it. He's really good. He's a lot of fun, and he's got like a really good dynamic with multiple characters throughout the game. So I'm really enjoying seeing how all of those things out flesh out. The Freakers as like an enemy, I like the concept of, but anytime like I get overwhelmed by a horde of them, I'm just like this isn't fun. Like because if it becomes to a point where as underpowered and underleveled as I am in the game, where those things just come and overwhelm me, like I have to run away, which isn't a lot of fun. And it a lot of times, even if I do run away, there's so many of them that I still get overwhelmed and die.
Oof.
So like anytime that happens, I'm just like, Urgh. But fortunately, like they're easy enough to avoid, and I don't lose too much progress if I do get overwhelmed by them and stuff like that. So I'm enjoying it so far. I've probably put about 15, 20 hours into it. So I don't know. I want to say I'm like around 45% of the story through or something like that, or 40, like 45% completion. So still chipping away at that. I know one of Greg's main complaints about that game was that like the gameplay loop did not sustain itself over the course of the game. Like it was fun, but then it stops being fun.
Mm.
It's still fun for me. I don't outside of like dealing with the hordes of freakers, and like as it is, I only recently got introduced to like two more enemy types. Like the first 15 hours of the game, it felt like I was basically fighting like the same enemy type over and over again, and just in various degrees. But a couple new freaker types, including like a big bulking like Hulk-like one that I was like, how the hell am I supposed to take this down? Because it took like every Molotov cocktail I threw at it. It took I like emptied all of my like ammunition and in like three different guns and stuff. Before I finally took it down. I was like, okay, well that was definitely like the epitome of a boss battle, but this is also just like a regular enemy type I'm going to start encountering in the
Oh
world, so
God.
I don't know how I'm going to deal the next time I have to encounter one of those guys and do not have like, a full set of ammo and stuff,
Mhm.
and it might just turn into another instance where I'm having to run away. And like that's I liked Jedi Fallen Order because I felt eventually like I reached the point of feeling powerful. So hopefully there is that kind of threshold in Days Gone as well. So yeah, those are a couple things I've been playing and up to. Um, Chloe, I want to throw it back to you. Outside of London, have you been watching, playing anything now that you're back?
See, before I left, I was playing Fallen Order. I have to get back into that. That's my streaming game, so whenever I do that again. I watched.
How far into it are you?
Oh God, I don't even remember.
It's as it is. I completely forgot last week. And as I can, because we were talking about it, I was talking about it with Frank, and I was like, yeah, like, it's not too spoilery and stuff, and I was like, I talked about, of the planets you can go to, there was only one that I really felt like I knew as a fan of Star Wars, and I
Mhm.
was like, yeah, Dathomir, and then like I
Mm-hmm.
completely forgot after the fact that you also go to Kashyyyk on in that game, so
Oh
like yeah,
yeah.
that's another
That's a thing.
like that's a that I thought about that specifically when I was writing the review for it this week for
Mhm.
that nerdy site because I was like, oh yeah, that doesn't bode well for like the unique feeling of the different worlds.
Fair.
And that was part of like the criticism that I had on the game was like a lot of the worlds feel samey, or the environments within the worlds feel samey.
Mhm.
So the fact that we were talking about this last week and I completely forgot, like the home of the Wookiees is a planet you visit in this
Yeah.
game. I was like, oh yeah, oops. So anybody who listened last week and called me out on that, I have called myself on it as well all week. So
To be
yeah,
fair, I feel like Kashyyyk is also just not a very interesting. It's not a very unique planet. It feels very samey within the Star Wars universe too, just because like we do have a lot of forest planets,
Another
and it
jungle
feels a
forest,
lot like
exactly.
yeah, it's like Endor, but instead of Ewoks, you have Wookiees. That's kind of
Pretty
it.
much. And the Wookiees don't look great.
yeah, the Wookiees don't look great, and also you run into the fact that just because of the way this game is being told and the story is being told, like there aren't a lot of Wookiees just like wandering around the map or anything like that. They're like you'll find them in a couple very like specific places,
Mhm.
but like
Right.
most of the areas of the world you're going around, you're combating like weird alien bugs and stuff like that. So
Right.
like it was just one of those things. I was like, oh yeah, that's right, Wookiees were in this game.
Wookiees are
Completely
in it.
forgot about that.
Some are big spiders. Fuck up, man.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah, those are horrifying.
God, I don't like it. See, since it's like a anywhere from a 7 to a 9-hour flight to and from London, watched plenty of movies and shows and whatever.
Yeah.
So let's see. On the way there, I watched, not to be me, but I watched Bumblebee, and I watched
Of course you
Godzilla,
did.
and then I watched
course you
the
did.
live action Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah.
But
What'd you think of the live action Lady and the Tramp? I threw that on like a week ago myself.
yeah, I love the original one so much. And this one, I don't know, the dogs were just very weird to look at when they started talking. I was like, oh, okay, that's not, okay. But I just want a Cocker
Yeah.
Spaniel now.
Oh, there you go. I don't like. I enjoyed the original Lady and the Tramp, but it's not like one of the Disney movies that I go back and think about all that often or anything like that. So like I threw this on, and I was like, okay, yeah, like I remember this story. I I certainly recognized like the main story beats of it. But then there were a whole bunch of things where I was like, is that new to this? I don't know. I don't quite know what like which bits are new versus which bits are like included in the original. I really liked the Siamese cats sequence, just how they like completely fuck up the house. I thought that was a fun little number that I didn't
Are they
remember
still
being as
racist?
memorable.
They are
Um,
not Siamese.
Yeah, they're not Siamese in this really.
Wow.
I guess is the main thing. I
thank
thought it
God.
was Donald Glover. When I was listening to, it. I was like, is that did they get Childish Gambino to come in here and
I guess it
like
doesn't sound like
that's
him.
because I
from the
mean
Lion King
he did
contract.
Lion King too. So, but yeah, that like I looked it up. I was like, oh nope, that's not him. So,
Oh, okay. Interesting.
but yeah, and then there's like one moment in there where I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure this wouldn't have been in the original, where like the tramp is hitting on a poodle and he's like, are you guys twins? And the guy the poodle's like, that's my wife. And I was like, all right, I feel like that's a joke that would not have played well in the 60s
Yeah.
as it does, now. But yeah. So I enjoyed it well enough, but it was just something I had
was-
kind of going on in the background.
Yeah, it's just something to pass the time on the plane. But
I feel like that's my favorite way for them to do the live action remakes, though, because so many of the live action remakes are given this like grand, like, we're going to put it on in theaters and it's going to matter a lot. And it's a predominant part of our budget outside of Marvel and Star Wars, which I hate.
yeah.
So I like that. I like this method of just kind of like, yeah, we're going to make live action versions of these movies and they're going to be on Disney Plus, and you're not going to care that much and we're not going to care that much. It's fine.
I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely feels like Dumbo should have been that instead
Yeah.
of Dumbo. But they didn't have Disney Plus at the time. But yeah, like I personally, I of the big remakes that they've done, like I really enjoyed Aladdin earlier this year. I did not like I you'll appreciate this, Ben, because of all the Letterboxd stuff you have been doing. I went in and downloaded Letterboxd and created an account
Nice.
and was going through and like just noting. I haven't like put scores to anything or written anything in there, but I've just been like, okay, these are the movies I watched this year. And these are the ones I liked of what I watched. And Lion King is one of the very few that I watched and did not click the liked button in Letterboxd because I just like I just watched that movie and thought like, why does this exist?
I haven't seen it. I refuse.
Good.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
My
I mean, like,
favorite.
Millions of people did, so your
Yeah.
We're
your
good.
protest is kind of moot, but
I mean, it's also just because I don't really feel like wasting my time on it.
yeah.
Like I didn't want to see it in theaters as a protest because partly I had other things I'd rather be watching, and partly because I didn't want to be giving my money to Disney. But now that I have Disney Plus, I would watch it if I had any desire to. I just don't. My favorite live action remake, though, is Cinderella. I will stand by. It's the only one that I think actually deserves to exist. It's pretty good.
So which Godzilla did you watch, Chloe?
The 2014 one, I think that's when it came out.
Okay, so the Godzilla, not the like sequel King of the Monsters.
Yeah,
or
no,
whatever.
it was on there. I would have watched that too, but The first, it's just so
That's the
good.
Colin.
I
Trevor?
What?
No. I'm trying to think of the director. Gareth Edwards?
Gareth
Edwards,
Edwards.
Gareth Edwards, yeah. Trevorrow's Jurassic World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wish that they did what they did with this one with King of the Monsters, like with the grounded camera, because it makes everything just feel a lot more real. You feel like the impact of Godzilla when he steps, and like that first time he walks into the airport and roars for the first time, chills every time. Still,
Yeah,
It's
no,
so
that
good.
that movie, like, I remember one of the big criticisms of Godzilla was like not enough Godzilla, and I was
Right.
like, I liked that there wasn't like that they treated Godzilla like they treated Jaws or something like that, where it was like, no, he is a like it is going to mean something when you see him and when he
Exactly.
like actually makes an appearance in this. And then yeah, I feel like they overcorrected based on what I've heard. I've not seen King of the Monsters, but based on what I've heard, they've super overcorrected with King of the Monsters and said, all right, well, you wanted more Godzilla? Well, we're going to throw everything: Godzilla, Mothra,
yeah.
King,
Ghidorah.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
all of them.
Oh yeah.
And just and deal.
My criticism of the first Godzilla was that there was too much Godzilla.
Of the first one, really?
Yeah, because here's the thing. They were going for the Jaws vibe, but they show you him in the beginning. And that was my issue. I was like, if you really want this whole idea of like the mystery of Godzilla and that moment at the end, don't spoil it in the beginning and then remove him. Keep him at a distance. Because that's the way Jaws is. You don't see Jaws until the end. You see snippets of things that suggest Jaws, and I'm cool with that. That's kind of what they did with Godzilla up until the final action scene. But yeah, that was my criticism of that
I mean,
movie.
I don't
the first one.
remember. I don't remember them starting out with Godzilla and then taking him away. I
I
don't.
think they
I just remember.
do.
Like I remember them starting with like a whole subplot of because they sold the movie to the Bad fans and were like, hey, you liked Walter White? Well, here he's in this
He's
too.
in it.
Yeah, that was bad.
And then he's not, and everybody like that was another thing that people were like, oh, I feel like I got like screwed out of that, or I feel like I got sold a bill of goods. So I remember that, and that being like, oh yeah, he didn't like it was a very it focused on like his family and the human story side of things before Godzilla shows up, and then yeah, they just never even really cross over
I
and
think they
interact.
only show like
The-
his back spikes at the beginning, like in like old school black and white footage. Like
Yeah,
they don't
like-
actually show him.
yeah.
It's possible I am misremembering because I haven't seen
Yeah.
this movie since like 2014. I remember having a criticism along those lines, but I would have to rewatch it to be like completely sure of what it was.
I also remember thinking, man, this is really weird having Aaron Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen like as a married couple
Yeah.
when like either a month before or a month after they're playing Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver
Yeah.
as siblings in Age of
Ultron came
Ultron.
out that
So,
same year, so yeah.
yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, it was
I
like
think it was
within
after.
like 2 months they went from playing like a married couple to like siblings, and I was like, this is
It was a
awkward.
little weird, yeah.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it. Not enough to go see King of the Monsters,
Oh, man.
as most people apparently felt, because that
Oh.
movie did not do all that well.
It's a shame.
I saw it.
I saw it. I'm glad I saw it. I had a good time with it.
I'm
All
not.
Well, that's
I mean,
your
like
opinion.
it definitely feels like a Chloe movie.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Oh yeah,
I get why you like it.
it's right up my alley.
Ben, speaking of movies, you saw and really enjoyed Knives Out. You want to talk about that a little bit?
I love Knives Out so much. I mean, we've touched on this already because I referenced The Last Jedi and we've referenced The Fly episode of Breaking Bad, which are both Ryan Johnson directed films, or Ryan Johnson directed things. Breaking Bad episode, obviously, is not a film. But yeah, I love Knives Out. I love that it's about something I didn't expect. Like, can I be spoilery on this show?
I mean, yeah, you can. I can go ahead and write in a time code to say like, hey, if you want to skip,
I'm gonna
go
avoid
to
being
this
spoilery.
point. Okay.
I'm gonna avoid it. I love that it's centered around a character. I knew it was centered around Anna de Armas's character. I did not expect it to be using her perspective in the way that it did. I really like her character. I really like the perspective that it gave the movie. It made the movie feel a lot more timely and connected to the modern times, because I was expecting a murder mystery that got away with being in the present day, which is to say, like, you know, the present day has a lot of conceit, like technology and cell phones and internet that make classic murder mystery plots hard to do. So I was expecting a modern murder mystery to kind of just mean we figured out a murder that we could do with technology, and that's why it's modern. But instead, we got a mystery that works in the modern age, but also a storyline that is a modern storyline. And I loved that a lot. Also, Chris
Yeah.
Evans is great. And
Yeah,
Jamie Lee Curtis and Michael Shannon and so on and so
I mean,
forth.
like yeah, like everyone in that movie is really great, and it's one like I having only really seen like the trailers and stuff, and not really because I when I go to movies I don't pay attention to like the posters or anything like that. So like until I saw other people starting to talk about Knives Out, I don't think I even realized Ana de Armas was in it. And I really had enjoyed her immensely in Blade Runner 2049. So like that was a pleasant surprise, and yeah, that she is so prominent in the film. But like as we talked, I think in our kind of Slack thread the other day, you, me, and Logan, we were talking about how um, like the marketing is very deliberately like pointing away from Ana de Armas's character. Like everybody else is flashier and showier, and they get to have certainly a lot more fun, I think, in the roles that they're playing, and that's to try and like bring in a wide appeal audience. That certainly seems to be what they're leaning into. So it was just another element of I think you kind of highlight subversion, something that Ryan Johnson plays with, subverting expectations. That was just another aspect of that for me. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I had I've seen it twice now because that was I saw it early. I saw an early access screening when I was in San Francisco with some of our friends out there, and then I was like, all right, I'm looking for a thing to do, and I had like 2 movie passes I needed to use like before December, and I remembered that I had them on November 30th, and I was like, oh shit. So I went and saw like I saw 3 movies that day. I saw Frozen that morning with my family, and then that was when I realized, oh shit, I've got these 2 like other passes I need to go use, and then I went and saw A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, and then I was like, all right, and I'll go see Knives Out again, because I really enjoyed that, and I wanted to see how it held up as like a second viewing, because that's one of the things you touch on even in your review, like murder mysteries, whodunits, like the magic is gone after the first time. When you know what's coming, like the story and how the twists and turns play out, like the mystery part of it loses its magic, so it has to rely on like the rest of the aspects of that film to see how it holds up, and I think it holds up very well. Just because all the characters are fun, the relationships, the dynamics they play are make for such engaging stories. Specifically in like this day and age, it seeing it on or like right after Thanksgiving, I was like, this is like you talked about Last Christmas being a perfect Christmas movie. I think Knives Out could serve as a perfect Thanksgiving movie because it
Yes.
it very much like is everything you love and hate about family, everybody getting together, and it's just like they don't mention Thanksgiving at all. It's just like the family aspect. It perfectly encapsulates, I think, that nature.
It makes me want a like Knives Out sequel that's just not with the same characters overall, but like another Benoit Blanc focused movie where he is actually going to a Thanksgiving murder and dealing with that. Because I just think that'd be such a fun way of doing a Thanksgiving movie.
I mean, like I definitely would like to see other Benoit Blanc movies, or like make him a Sherlock Holmes type character and have fun with that. I don't necessarily think I need to see a Thanksgiving one, because especially because then I am just going to be comparing the two, so like closely, because it's going to be like, well, how does this capture Thanksgiving versus other
It's
any
fair.
kind of other mystery that they could tell. But yeah, you gave that a 10 out of 10 on that nerdy site.
Mm-hmm.
So you very much enjoyed it. I very much enjoyed it as well. I don't know if I would have rated it as highly, but such is the way of our site. So yeah, I had a great time at that movie. Anything else? I've got like one more thing I can round us out on, but I want to throw it to you guys if there's anything else you wanted to shout out or talk about that you've been up to or playing or watching or any of that stuff.
Started watching the Watchmen HBO show. I mentioned that
Yeah.
on that Wannabe Film Class. Shout out. But yeah, it's very good. It
Yeah.
surprised me. I'm not a huge fan of the Watchmen comic book just because it's a bit pretentious and overly dark. But this movie or this TV show feels it's dark, but it balances its darkness well, and also its darkness feels very earned for the content and the themes it's dealing with. So I like it a lot.
Yeah, I've been watching that series as well, and like I got into the Watchmen comic. I want to say like right after college is when I got introduced to it. Like right around the time the movie was coming out, basically. Like I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, that looks like a really cool thing, because Zack Snyder makes really good trailers. The
It
movies less
does.
so maybe. But like the trailer sold me on like, oh, let me go check out what this Watchmen thing is. And I read it and really enjoyed it. And haven't really like outside of like watching the movie have not really thought about it much since. So like when this came out, I was like, oh, okay, like I don't really know how they're gonna try and tell a sequel story to The Watchmen, but I've been really enjoying it. And it's something that like I probably only watched because I heard people of that first episode or two like really speaking like highly about it, and then I dove in, and then like I don't know if it's just Baby Yoda takes over the internet, but like that's one that surprisingly like I don't see anybody really spoiling on my feeds in the way that I'm used to seeing that kind of like appointment viewing, especially HBO appointment viewing. Everybody like clamoring on this, so I don't know if people just aren't watching it or if the people that are watching it just aren't like posting all those things because they're too busy posting Baby Yoda
It's true.
things or
There's no men
what. But
watching Watchmen. It's sad.
yeah, yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, the last thing I wanted to kind of talk about that I saw a couple nights ago is Honey Boy.
Hmm.
Oh
Um,
I
shit.
want to see that.
and yeah,
Me too.
with Shia LaBeouf, and he's having like a really interesting year. One of the movies I saw earlier this year that I saw like pretty much sight unseen, and it's the first time I've done that in I don't know how long, was Peanut Butter
Hmm.
Falcon that has him in it. And I went in like I don't think I'd even seen a trailer for it when I went and saw it. I just Joey Noelle had said she really liked it, so I was like, all right, it's playing it, the Alamo near me. I'll go check it out, and really walked away loving it. And specifically, like Shia LaBeouf, who's really good in it. Um, so
I
there's
had a
another
similar
one that's
experience with Peanut Butter Falcon where I had no idea what it was. I went into it. So
yeah,
I get what you're saying.
yeah. Honey Boy, I knew, a little bit more in that, like, oh, this is very much like a him telling like his own story, but playing his father, and really kind of like trying to tackle and address like the complicated dynamic he had with his father as a child actor and kind of growing up. It's a very well shot, well made movie, and everybody has like incredibly great performances. It is also a very like brutal and heartbreaking movie at times. And yeah, it's like it's one of those I'm like I I recommend it, but also don't go expecting to have a good time. Go expecting to like think and feel stuff.
Oh no.
Um, but you might not walk away like smiling and happy at the end of things. Um, so yeah, it's a very interesting like character study, and just a like it's also I would say an interesting writing exercise because he basically like wrote the movie I think as and it's kind of like alluded to in the film itself that he wrote it as basically a therapy exercise when he was in rehab, to try and like confront some of those like demons from his past and stuff. Um, and yeah, just the way he's embodying the character of his father, like you can tell that there's love there, but also like he's not a great guy. He's presented warts and all kind of thing, and it's like you see the moments where he's trying to be a good dad, and you see the moments where he's like failing miserably at being a dad. And it's yeah, and also Noah Jupe, I want to say is the kid's name. Just a phenomenal little children's actor, little child actor. I saw him in Ford versus Ferrari a couple weeks ago too, and he's just killing it in everything he's doing. So shout out to him. I hope he doesn't go the Shia LaBeouf route and have many many troubles on his way to adulthood.
That'd be good.
So yeah, that's I like I said, I might get a written review up on it on the site sometime, depending on if I sit down and really want to hash out my feelings on it this weekend. But if I do not, or even if I do, it is definitely something I would recommend, but also like with the caveats of it's a sometimes very tough watch. because of the nature of the content and whatnot. So,
Hmm.
yeah. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you, Ben and Chloe, for joining me. Let's go ahead and go around the kind of metaphorical table, and if anybody has anything they want to shout out or any plugs they want to give, Ben, we'll start with you. Go ahead and give your Twitter ats and anything you want to plug.
Sure. You can find me on Twitter at Mr_BentoBox, anywhere else at Mr. Bento Box. That includes the aforementioned Letterboxd. Please follow me. I love that site. You can also find me on that nerdy site. I've written a feature about Last Christmas and why I think it's a very unique representation of Christmas. I've written a review on Knives Out, which we talked about. I'm going to be writing more things.
Which Ryan Johnson liked.
Which Ryan Johnson liked.
Well, he liked the tweet about it, at least.
I love him so much. I want to meet him so badly. I'll be writing more things for the website. And then, yeah, Chloe and I are both on That Wannabe Film Class. We meet every week to talk about a movie that we love that fits into a month's theme. This month is 2010 movies.
Yep. So when this episode goes out, Inception will have been the last episode. What's the episode for next week?
Next week we are watching Mad Max Fury Road, which is I'm super excited for because it's a movie that Logan picked, but he hasn't seen it. He just really wants to, and Chloe hasn't seen it either. So I'm the only one going in knowing what is about to happen.
It's gonna be exciting.
Nice. Are you guys watching like the original, or are you gonna watch like the black and white version? Or
I hadn't considered this. I feel like probably the original.
Probably that, yeah.
Chloe, how about you? Anything you want to shout out and plug?
You can find me everywhere: Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd at EchoClo. I write dumb little short one-sentence reviews on Letterboxd, and I write dumb tweets on Twitter. So follow me there. EchoClo everywhere. Yay.
Nice. All right. You can follow me at Trevor J. Starkey on most places, including now Letterboxd. I have one follower. I don't know who it was, and I don't know how they found me, but I got an email saying like, "Hey, so and so has followed you." And I was like, "I don't know who this person is, but cool." So yeah, you can follow me all those places. Jedi Fallen Order review is probably the as of recording the last thing I think I wrote for the site. So you can go check that out. I enjoy that game. I think it has a lot of potential in a sequel. So I'll be interested to see if they are given the opportunity to see where it would go from there, especially because I liked Titanfall 2 so very much from the same studio, Respawn.
So good.
So yeah, check that out. And then, you can follow all of us over at That Nerdy Site. Check out thatnerdysite.com for the latest content. We haven't been doing a lot of Twitch streaming. Hopefully, I say this like in a lot of the things we record at this point. Hopefully, I'm going to get back into streaming over at twitch.tv/thatnerdysite once I get like just a more manageable schedule kind of figured out and wrapped up. And then also, I think Logan and Frank are going to try and start doing some streaming on twitch.tv/thatnerdysite as well. They were going to try and do something last week, but had some technical difficulties, so they had to kind of cancel it.
We also have a Discord now.
We have a Discord now. I don't know the best way to direct people to that. I guess I can probably find the link and put it in descriptions of things. So
I tweeted from that nerdy site with the link, so if you just copy that link, you can use it as you see fit.
Cool. If you like what you've heard, please rate, review, subscribe, like I said at the top of the show, and maybe even consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/thatnerdysite. Every patron gets early access to a monthly bonus episode of this show. The episode for patrons for November ended up being me, Frank, and Cameron talking about our Thanksgiving memories. So you can go check that out if you are a Patreon. Thank you guys again for joining me, and thank you everybody for listening, and as always, stay nerdy and be good to each other.